Hi there, I'm Carolyn from Minneapolis, and I chose to analyze a data set from the Austin Animal Center. This data set included information about animals as they were leaving their shelter. And they collected it for over the course of about 2.5 years, and it just sort of had stuff about the outcome, age, sex, color, breed, things like that. And they had 5 levels of outcome, which were died, euthanized, transferred, adopted, or returned to owner. And I chose to focus on just whether or not they were adopted. This made it a nice binary outcome, so I was able to use logistic regression. My research question was which variables would influence the probability of adoption. So here's a quick overview of the variables that I analyzed in this data set. I had 1 quantitative variable, which was the age, and then 4 qualitative variables. They included several levels in each variable. Sex included gender and whether or not the animal had been spayed. 4 levels for breed. Most of the cats in the data set were already in one of the 3 sort of general bins, the short, medium, and long hair, and then there's just a handful of cats that sort of called out a specific breed. So I decided to put them together to keep those levels more manageable. Color required a little bit of pruning as well. I got that to 8 different buckets, and then pattern into 6. So here are some plots. I started with plotting to sort of get a feel for what might be affecting the probability here. Age, as you can see, is not the greatest. I went into this thinking that age would have some effect on whether or not the animals would be adopted. Most people going in to look for an animal are looking for a younger animal. But as you can see, there's definitely a lot of overlap. So move on. The next variable that showed some promise was the sex upon outcome. And as you can see, the intact animals are just much less likely to be adopted. And this is something that makes sense. Most shelters are going to either spay or neuter an animal before adopting it out. Looks like the Austin Animal Shelter must have adopted a few animals that were intact, but they seem like pretty standard. They're trying to probably spay or neuter it before they adopt. The other qualitative variables, I didn't see anything in the plots. I kind of wanted to check them out and see if there was, black cats maybe were less likely to be adopted, or possibly the purebred cats were higher valued because they have sort of a fancier label. But there wasn't really anything here. This looked pretty evenly spaced. So the next couple of things I have are some ROC curves. This is sort of my quick and dirty way to look over the different models. So the first model I tried was just adopted by age, and as you can see, it does not make a very good model. There's a lot of false positives in this model. The interesting thing was that adding the just age and the sex upon outcome together made a much better model. As you can see, this one has an area under a curve of 0.9, which is pretty good. I think it's a very interesting relationship here. Young cats are more valued for people looking to adopt, but very young cats, that might only be a month or 2 old, are definitely more likely to be intact still. They haven't been neutered yet. That happens in the youth of an animal's life. So it was interesting to see how putting those together really improved the fit and got rid of the false positives. So that was very interesting. So that was the model I landed on. I looked into adding a couple of the colors. Blue was a bit significant, but it didn't really improve the model. And the purebred mix breed also was significant, but it didn't improve the model either. None of the other models had a higher area under curve, and they didn't really change the betas very much. So this is the one I landed on, and I was happy to see that the betas came out to be significant. And here's the betas converted to change in odds. As you can see, age leads to a slight % decrease, and being neutered or spayed leads to a high increase of the odds of adoption. So here's some predictions that I ran with the model. There's a young highest prediction, a probability of being adopted here. The young spayed cat, if that makes sense. The slightly older, 3 years not being super old, but a little bit on the old side, but intact, much lower chance of being adopted. And the sort of neuter, middle-aged cat has a very middling probability of being adopted, which is what I would expect to see from what I was learning from the betas. So I thought it would have been interesting to have some more levels in the data set, perhaps something about the cat's personality. That's something I've seen on other shelter websites. They might have levels like the cat is playful or independent or cuddly, and that could be interesting to see how that would affect adoptability. And possibly seeing how long the cat had spent in the shelter. It's another thing that I was looking for. But I think my time is just about up. I want to say thank you and sorry for not including more cat pictures in this presentation.